Brandon Straka is with us. Brandon, if you don't know this, was the founder of the Walk Away campaign, a social media campaign launched ahead of the 2018 midterm elections. Brandon is gay. He's also a hairstylist. He's an actor from New York City, and he's a former liberal. And he says, why I left the Democratic Party. The campaign's stated goal was to encourage others to walk away from the divisive left, but also take back the narrative from the liberal media about what it means to be a conservative in America. As of November 2018, this video just before the midterms had gotten over almost 500,000 views on YouTube and 1 million on Facebook. And that was in 2018. So his organization has grown substantially. It's great to have him on. Brandon, welcome.
Yes, I'm here. How are you?
Good. Okay. You're on our Disruptors series on the John Fredericks Radio Network. You're one of the disruptors out there. Brandon, you're a former liberal. What is it did you just get up one day and say, I've had enough of the Democratic Party. I've had enough of this narrative and I'm going to change it. What was the genesis of Brandon Straka's transition?
Well, I definitely did not wake up one day and if only it were that easy. It was an ideology, the ideology of liberalism, and being a Democrat was something that just sort of inherently was something I did, I think, without a lot of thought. And it was mostly because I was gay. I think that as a minority in America, most of us, whether you're black, brown, LGBT, even women, are voting Democrat because of the marketing, I think, that we receive from the Democratic Party. Mm-hmm. And I voted for Hillary in 2016, and I was just shattered when Donald Trump got elected because I believed everything that the liberal media was saying about him and his supporters. And so I was trying to really understand why it was that anyone would vote for him. I didn't worry much when he was running for president because the same media was telling me and everybody else time and again that he had, like a 3% chance of winning. So even though they were kind of marketing it as he was the second coming of Hitler, they were also saying, don't worry about it because there's no chance he could possibly win. And when he did win, it was shocking. And I sort of felt like, wow, I guess half the country are covert bigots and we didn't know it. So I really went on this quest to try to understand why. And that was kind of the first step, was talking to Trump supporters and getting an understanding of why they voted for him. And most of the answers that I was hearing had nothing whatsoever to do with racism or bigotry or anything like that. They were very much issue and policy based. And I started to understand for the first time that the party that I had been supporting for so long, my entire adult life, was really pushing more and more towards this sort of fringe extreme progressivism and globalism and all of these things that I think modern day conservatives are pushing back against, as we talk about America First and things like that. But it was the final kind of step in my transition was when I was, still in this phase of trying to understand, and I posted one day on Facebook that I would never be able to understand how anyone could watch a man mock a reporter's disability before a cheering crowd and still vote for him. And that's when somebody that, who was a conservative her whole life reached out to me and sent me a video entitled Debunking That Trump Mocked the Disabled Reporter, which showed this compilation of footage of him doing that same voice and that same gesture numerous times throughout the years, imitating someone who was caught in a lie or somebody flustered or, because they were being called out for doing something shady. And it was the first time in my life that I realized that the media was capable of taking a moment and isolating it and spinning it out of context, creating their own very dangerous false narrative about it, one that was designed entirely, I think, to stoke people's biases and their worst, suspicions about other people, and run it as a news story. And that was really the first step in a long journey of me realizing that the liberal media was lying constantly, that the Democratic Party was lying constantly. And after about a year, I ended up finally walking away entirely from the Democratic Party, and now I'm a Trump supporter.
Well, what a fascinating story. We're with Brandon Straka. He's the founder of the Walk Away campaign. He's a hairstylist. He's an actor from New York City. He's gay. And, you know, it's amazing you tell that story. And everybody knows this about me, Brandon. I've been a gay rights supporter as a Republican for 5 decades, almost 4.5 decades. And I've taken untold criticism for that over a very long period of time. Now it turns out I'm right. If you look at the way the Supreme Court ruled, but
Yes.
look, sometimes it takes tough stands for what you believe in. So I'm kind of with you on that. But I'll tell you the other thing. This president is the first Republican candidate for president to basically be a pro-gay rights Republican, right? He knocked the issue off the table when they talked about what bathroom to go into and what this person should do or that person should do. And he got rid of the issue, which was, I thought, hanging around Republicans' necks like an albatross, got rid of that issue. And you get to it's amazing you brought up that story about him mocking the New York Times reporter, because I had seen him do that many times. I stutter. Everybody knows that also. I've had a stuttering affliction forever. It's gotten better as I got older, but I was a severe stutterer. I mean, I've talked to the president been on my show, 25 times? I mean, I stutter when he's on my show. He's never made fun of me or anybody else. So that whole thing, as you laid it out, was a complete and utter campaign by the media to discredit Trump that was false, because he was not making fun of him. And he has done that gesture many, many times when he just makes fun of people in general, which is part of his shtick. So that whole thing was asinine. What's the reaction been?
What's the reaction been to me walking away?
Yes, sir.
Well, I mean, so throughout the course of 2017, when I was kind of doing this research, trying to understand, you have to understand this all sort of turned my world upside down. I mean, the discovery that the media that I trusted, I could no longer trust, that the political party that I saw as the party of evolution and progress and, looking out for the marginalized communities in America. I mean, the idea that maybe none of that was true and they were just exploiting minorities, taking advantage of minorities, scaring them, manipulating them, and lying to them, that was a lot to take in. And it took me throughout the majority of 2017 to kind of process that. And, simultaneously, I was doing a lot of research, trying to understand better what is conservatism and frankly, what is the truth about liberalism. And as I was having these discoveries, I'm a pretty outspoken person. That's always been true. So I would try to, post things on social media, asking questions, fair questions about Donald Trump, not just Trump bashing, but, what do you guys think about this? What do you think about that? And so bit by bit, with every little topic I might bring up or every little question I might ask, I was either attacked or unfriended. I stopped getting invited to parties. I had people texting me saying, I don't want to talk to you anymore. You've lost your mind. People accused me of being on drugs, being brainwashed, joining a cult. So, I mean, by the time that I finally made this proclamation in May of 2018 that I was walking away from the Democratic Party, walking away from liberalism, and that I was starting a campaign called the Walk Away campaign, I mean, I had lost the lion's share of my friends already at that point. And in fact, that was part of the reason why I even made that 6-minute video to begin with, which earlier when you were introing me for this interview, I have to push back a little bit because it actually had millions of views. Within the first couple of months, I think we were somewhere around 6, 7, 8 million views. I mean, it was really phenomenal. But by the time the video came out, there was only kind of a scattered few that were left. And at that point, those people, I think, became really inflamed when they saw my video and when they realized I was starting this campaign. And it was funny because, for the first 2, 3, 4 weeks, naturally the video was taking off, but everything was kind of sputtering along. And I was kind of going on live on Facebook, which is where I started the hashtag Walkaway Campaign group. And I was telling people, come on, you guys, make your video testimonials, tell your stories, talk about why you're walking away too. And the last remaining kind of few of my friends were constantly reaching out to me and being like, you're making a fool of yourself. You sound so stupid. You're never going to recover from this. It's never going to go anywhere. And I just kind of kept telling myself, keep having faith, because I know that other people are feeling this way. I know this is something that the world needs, that this country needs. And I just need to keep pushing forward with this. And, I feel like, thank God I did, because I do think that this movement, and it really is a movement, is having an enormous impact. I think it's saving a lot of people, because it's very difficult to walk away. I mean, walking away from liberalism in the Democratic Party is like leaving a cult. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people lose their family, their parents, their friends, job opportunities. It's terrible. But now we have this network of support called the Walkaway Campaign.
Where do you go from here, Brandon?
Well, we just keep charging forward. I mean, at this point now, the Walkaway Campaign is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. That's for our educational arm, where we do educational videos. We're getting in college campuses. We have a big college campus tour coming up. We're traveling the country doing these town hall events for minority groups. That's for the LGBT community, the Black community, the Hispanic community, the Jewish community. Our next event is in mid-September in Atlanta. We're doing the next Walkaway Black Americans Town Hall. And then shortly after that, we'll be doing the very first Walkaway Hispanic Americans Town Hall in New York City. And we're just going to continue to get out there, try to educate, create videos, talk to people, and get as many people as possible to wake up and walk away from the Democratic Party.
Hey, Brandon, your network within the LGBTQ community, your network, how have they reacted to this?
Well, I mean, I think that about 83% of LGBT people are voting Democrat typically, so it's an enormous amount. And the majority of them, I feel like, don't understand, number one, that the world has changed, the Republican Party has changed, that conservatives have changed on this issue. Many of them have come around. I think the majority of them have come around. I didn't really experienced much homophobia or much pushback from Republicans or from the conservative movement. It's just not something I really see or hear. I've been treated with warmth and love, and I've been embraced by Republicans. I mean, for God's sake, I just opened the Trump rally on August 1st in Cincinnati, speaking before the president and the vice president to 18,000 people who loved having me there. But again, it's the liberal media that is constantly churning out these stories, making people believe that it's, still 1985 and that the Republican Party is filled with hatred and animosity and contempt for anybody who isn't a straight white man. And so I think at this point they're confused and they're angry at me, and they see me as a traitor and somebody who has betrayed the LGBT community. And nothing could be further than the truth. What I'm actually trying to do is liberate the LGBT community and show them, look, guys, be a Democrat if you want to. That's your choice, but you do have a choice. You don't have to be a Democrat. Now we get to fully participate in the American political process, which is true liberation.
Well, one would think that you've got a tremendous opportunity to make inroads into the gay community because of what you're doing and sending that message out. And, with the economy doing as fabulous as it is, I think if you continue to do what you're doing, what percentage of the gay vote do you think Trump got in 2016? 10%, somewhere in there, 12, maybe?
Maybe, yeah, I'd say that's probably about exactly right.
Right. I mean, to me, when you look at the economy and some of the accomplishments he's made, and the fact that he's been pro-gay rights forever, and the fact that he's made the Republican Party a pro-gay rights party that everybody seems to just forget about, that he took that off the table as a key social issue. You would think that with your work, maybe you could get 25% of the president could get 25% of the gay vote. I don't know what the obstacle would be, why you wouldn't be able to do that with all the good things going on. But, like you said, like you said, Brandon, the first thing is education and getting out, being able to show people that a lot of their preconceptions are just not true. And it goes kind of back to, look, what are the Democrats doing for me as a person, right? Forget my sexual orientation. Well, what are they doing for my family? Because if you're gay and you're married, you have a significant other, you have a family. And what are they doing for my family? What are they doing for my job and things of that nature? So, boy, I really applaud the work that you're doing. How do you grow it?
Well, we have to. I mean, since day one, I have done as much media as I possibly can, and I enjoy doing that, and that's a huge, part. Whether it be radio shows, podcasts, television interviews, I get out, I do public speaking events whenever and wherever I can. I'm traveling around the country now, speaking everywhere, and so I continue to do that. Of course, we utilize the medium of social media as much as possible. We have created an educational video series we call it The Hard Truth. The first 2 episodes are out. People can find that on YouTube. Episode 1 is starring me talking about liberal media bias. Episode 2 is starring Scott Pressler talking about voter registration. We have many, many more episodes that will come out and on topics such as racism, socialism, anti-Semitism. We'll be talking about the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, abortion. I mean, basically really telling the truth about these issues. And if I could just take a second to say, let's take the issue of abortion for a moment. Now, regardless of how anyone feels about that specific issue, as a liberal, I believed, again, because of the marketing of the liberal media and the Democrat Party, that Republicans and conservatives used abortion as a way to control women. I mean, this is how they frame the argument, that men are trying to control women's bodies, which is something that I thoroughly bought into. And after really understanding conservatism better and the values of most conservatives, it's what I now understand is that this is really about conservatives believe that life begins at conception and they're trying to protect human life. I mean, that's how it is. So we're just trying to kind of re-educate people about the truth about how these arguments are being framed and the ways, and because that's manipulative. I think to tell people, well, they're trying to control women, they're trying to control black people, they're trying to control gays. Well, of course, anyone's going to resist wanting to be controlled by a majority. But we have to undo that kind of thinking and let people know, like, there's a legitimate intellectual argument that is to be made here that has nothing to do with, control and manipulation. And so we're just trying to educate people and get ourselves out there as much as possible.
Well, I love what you're doing. I want you to stay on after we're done so you can give your contact information to Kara so that we have it. I want to have you on a regular basis, follow the effort that you're making going forward, because I think you're providing an educational service. And in my mind, when you look at everything on the table, I don't know why Trump 2020 wouldn't get 25% of the gay vote. I mean, if you really look at the issues and what this president has done, and you're not going to get from 10% to 50%. It's not going to happen. But you can't get to 20 or 25%. And the gay vote right now in the United States is much bigger than anybody thinks it is. Man, Bill Clinton figured that out when he beat George H. And then his son figured it out, because I think his son, as I remember, George W. in his second term got like almost 30% of the gay vote just because of the economy and other things. So people are understanding how important this voting block is. But the bottom line is that I think you're delivering an educational message that says to gays, look, there's a choice and it's reasonable. And I think that's the effort I think that's why you're having such success, and we wish you all the best. And thank you for everything that you do. Brandon Straka, stay on the line. Kara's going to get your contact information. And also, thanks for the shout out to my good friend from Virginia Beach, Scotty Presley. He's doing a great job, isn't he? Really is.
Yeah, I love Scott. Scott's a good friend of ours. And
He's a
thank you
good
so
guy.
much for having me on the show. And I'd just like to tell your listeners to please check us out at walkawaycampaign.com.
walkawaycampaign.com.